Quality of service is one of the most important networking concepts to ensure that mission-critical traffic can make it across the network when it needs to. Now, within the data center, there are a few traffic types more important than the storage networking, in our case, iSCSI. So in this nugget, we want to unpack exactly how to configure QoS within UCS for iSCSI. There are going to be 2 points that we need to look at. The first step is to go into the system QoS settings and make some changes there. From there, we're going to create a QoS policy that we can later apply to our service profiles. In order to configure quality of service, we want to come to the LAN tab, and under LAN, we're going to highlight LAN Cloud and expand that. And from there, we click on QoS System Class. And we want to focus on a few things. First of all, we have a lot of different options here for classifying traffic. iSCSI can be any of these, really, except for we don't want to mark it as best effort, we don't want to mark it as fiber channel, but really we can use any of these other ones to mark iSCSI traffic. Typically what we see is that gold is dedicated for iSCSI because it allows us to have a higher level of traffic if we need to within the data center. And then traffic types like live migration would go under silver. Live migration is probably the other traffic type that we really need to pay attention to from a QoS perspective. So the first thing we want to do is to enable the traffic class where we're going to assign iSCSI, whatever that is. And the class of service in this case is going to be 4. We want to make sure that this class of service represents iSCSI not only in UCS, but also throughout the entire network. So whatever switching infrastructure we have needs to also treat iSCSI traffic as if it's COS of 4. From there, we can look at packet drop. So what's packet drop mean? Well, we've covered this in previous skills. In fact, in the advanced storage networking skill for UCS, we cover that this is a concept called priority flow control. This is really designed for fiber channel over Ethernet traffic, which is what this represents on the QoS settings tab. And so we don't actually want to enable priority flow control for iSCSI because iSCSI has TCP. And TCP, as we also covered in the advanced storage networking skill, ensures that this is reliable communication. We don't need to worry about packets getting dropped because TCP will ensure that it gets to the other side. And so really what we want to do is we want to leave this checkbox enabled because by enabling packet drop, we're disabling priority flow control. So let's skip weight and take a look at MTU. Now MTU with iSCSI is typically recommended that we run jumbo frames. So we'd highlight this and change it to 9216, which is the UCS setting for jumbo frames. Okay, so now back to weight. Weight is how we define how much bandwidth we want to reserve for this particular traffic class. So since we have 3 different traffic classes enabled right now, it's going to take those 3 weights and add them together for the denominator. So in our case, 5 plus 5 plus 5. And then the numerator, the top of the fraction, is going to be whatever our weight is. So in our case, 5 divided by 15 is equal to 33%. So every one of these weights is going to be 33% once we hit the Save Changes button. Now if we want this to be more, if for whatever reason we wanted iSCSI to get a bigger share of the bandwidth, which isn't a bad thing by the way, so now we'd say this is really 10 divided by 20. That should get 50%. And the other two will get 5 over 20, so these would be 25%. So let's do that. We're going to clear this out. We're going to make the weight, say, 10. And with 5 and 5 in there, we'll save changes. And we should see that the weights are exactly what we predicted. So 50, 25, and 25. And we just want to set this according to whatever makes sense for our environment. So now that we've configured our system QoS settings, we need to come on the left to Policies and find QoS Policies. We right-click and say Create a QoS Policy. From here, we call it QoS iSCSI. And we'll pick the traffic class that we selected, which was gold. And we can leave the rest of the settings as defaults. And we say OK. Now we have a QoS setting that we can apply to the virtual NICs in our service profile when we create it. There are 2 steps to configuring iSCSI quality of service. The first is to go into the system QoS settings and enable whatever class of service type that we're going to use for iSCSI, keeping in mind we want to enable packet drop and set MTU to jumbo frames. From there, we can create a QoS policy that will be applied to the VNICs in our service profiles. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.